Today's Spotlight on Naperville is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Welcome back to Spotlight on Naperville. I'm Nancy Wearsome, and we're going to turn our attention outside right now with the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. So welcome to all of you. Eric Knighty is the Natural Resource Management Supervisor, and so we're delighted to have you with us. Joe Sudecki is a volunteer steward, and you're going to tell us about that in a moment, I'm sure. And Mary Lou Worley is a commissioner with the Forest Preserve District, so welcome to you.
Thank you.
Good to have all of you. And especially on these nice days, we think of the Forest Preserve all the more, I think. So, well, Mary Lou, I want to start with you. Let's begin by talking a little bit about what the Forest Preserve District provides for our residents, because it's a lot.
It's a lot, and pretty soon in 2015, it'll be 100 years of providing these types of outdoor spaces that are protecting nature, that offer trail links, that offer partnerships with other agencies to care for our open space. The Forest Preserve has programs, educational facilities, Mays Lake, Green Farmstead in the Naperville area, for instance, and we also have a huge Department of Natural Resources, which is our primary mission is care of the land, which attracts the birds and takes care of so many things that make our community beautiful and contributes to the quality of life. Trails are a big hit in the community.
Well, and I was on your website and I saw 60 forest preserves, 47 miles of streams and rivers, and 145 miles of trails.
We're 12% of DuPage County's land is in forest preserves.
That is a phenomenal statistic. I did not know that. That's amazing. Well, Eric, let's move to you in your role, because you see it probably from your own perspective. Sure. Why do you think the Forest Preserve is so important?
Well, Commissioner Worley actually said it very well in terms of the social aspects and the natural aspects. But if you look at just our mission, which states that roughly that we need to acquire and hold lands for woodlands, wetlands, prairies, forests, rivers, streams, and their natural communities in a natural condition for the protection and preservation, for the education, recreation, and pleasure of the citizens. And that's huge. But in essence, it's maintaining balance. It's balance of the ecosystems, biodiversity, something as small as the lowest level of a soil organism and its associations with insects, all the way up to the larger predators, coyotes, red-tailed hawks, et cetera. As long as we can maintain the balance amongst those associations and relationships, everyth's in balance, and that's very, very important. A good example is recently hearing all the importance of pollinators and the role they play in worldwide agriculture. So the habitats in forest preserves maintain the habitat for such organisms as pollinators and insects and other things.
So we've already learned a lot.
Yeah,
you are amazing. That's incredible. Now, Joe, I want to hear about your role as a volunteer steward. Tell us what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm the volunteer steward at Springbrook Prairie here in Naperville, and so I essentially just help out on a volunteer basis with the Forest Preserve, and there's a whole program of volunteerism at the preserve, which is with the district. And so I do things like I monitor the wildlife populations, provide that information to the district. We go out and have work days out there where we're helping the district manage the site, taking care of invasive species, collecting seeds, planting seeds, and maintaining the habitats out there. So that's really our role as volunteers, and we provide a lot of that information which the Forest Preserve can then use in their management plans and things like that.
So that it's fairly involved.
It is.
Then.
It's a very, we have work days about every 2 weeks out at Springbrook, and you can, anyone can come to those, look on the Forest Preserve site, and then if you're really dedicated, you can become a dedicated volunteer and spend all your time out at Springbrook.
Well, it sounds like you're pretty dedicated. It sounds like it. Okay. Well, Eric, the Springbrook Prairie recently received some great news. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Recently, in 2013, Springbrook Prairie is now officially what's called an Illinois Nature Preserve. And an Illinois Nature Preserve, while the Forest Preserve District has its own level of protection, which was derived from the Downstate Forest Preserve Act of 1913, and we're not allowed to sell land once we purchase land. and the commissioners do a great job of helping us preserve that land. What the state designation does for us is it adds an extra level of protection, and that protection is important because commissioners may come and go. They may spend years preserving and protecting and helping us do our jobs. And then there's other political pressures in terms of land. And land is very valuable, especially in an area like DuPage County of almost 1 million residents. So that state designation affords us an additional layer of protection and basically a brother or sister at arms in helping us protect the land for future generations, absolutely.
Absolutely fascinating. How wonderful. And Mary Lou, now the prairie is not the only place to receive that designation, right?
Right. DuPage County has 8 preserves that have that Illinois Nature Preserve or Illinois Land and Water Reserve Area designation. And they're actually scattered quite equidistant throughout the county. Springbrook Prairie in Naperville, however, is the largest one at over about 1,600 acres. And 50 acres of that is a wetland preserve, and the rest is a nature preserve.
There's so much to all that, I know. And what do you think makes the Springbrook Prairie so special?
Well, for me, I mean, it's really unique in that the size of it at 1,800 acres for the whole prairie, and it being really the biggest area in DuPage County that's grassland or prairie and open. And what that does is it attracts very rare bird species that are there, and that's really one of the reasons I got involved, and it's really one of the reasons that we're managing the prairie, because there's incredible amount of wildlife, and especially the birds, where you can find no place else. So it's very unique that way.
Yes, well, good for you, and that's a great place to leave it. We hope everybody visits, and congratulations to all of you, because I know that probably wasn't an easy designation, and so good for you. Keep up the great work, and we hope everybody gets out there. And we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, more Spotlight on Naperville, so stay with us.